Jonas Vingegaard has strongly hinted at his desire to make his Giro d'Italia debut in 2026, but can his pink jersey aspirations be reconciled with his perennial role as Visma Lease bike's leader at the Tour de France? Rumors linking Jonas Vingegaard with a possible Giro d'Italia debut are nothing new, especially at this time of the year when bike races give way to informed conjecture and or idle speculation in the news cycle. Exactly 12 months ago, after all, there were persistent rumors about his interest in riding the Giro. But the idea would lose momentum even before the route was belatedly announced in January. The difference this time around is that Vingegaard seems to be actively talking up his desire to ride the Giro, rather than carefully downplaying the idea. Last year's cautious and polite "maybe I will" has amplified into something more categorical. Win the 3 Grand Tours or a Tour de France in 2026? I think I'd prefer to win the 3 Grand Tours. Vingegaard told La Dernière Heure, and after the Tour de France and the Vuelta, I only have the Giro left. Although Vingegaard then dutifully reiterated that the Tour remains the biggest show in town and that he won't skip it so long as he still believes he can win it, this nonetheless amounted to his firmest commitment yet to the idea of riding the 2026 Giro. When he was quizzed about the Giro atop Bola del Mundo after sealing the Vuelta a España back in September, Vingegaard was woolier about the notion, or perhaps more accurately, he simply wasn't in the headspace to contemplate winning another Grand Tour when he hadn't quite finished winning that one yet. By the time Vingegaard lined up for the European Championships 3 weeks later, he had begun to warm to the idea, even if he was still adamant that the Tour remained the core of his 2026 season. The Tour is so important that it will certainly form part of my calendar, but let's see if the Giro can be included, he said. It would be fantastic. The declaration will please RCS Sport, but they know well that it still doesn't guarantee that Vingegaard will be on the start line in Bulgaria, most likely in the Black Sea city of Burgas, on May 9th. The decision isn't entirely Vingegaard's to make. For one thing, his Visma Lease bike squad will have to weigh up several factors before sanctioning such a radical deviation from his normal schedule. What are the odds? Speaking to Domestique last month, Visma sports director Grisha Nierman played a straight bat on the Giro question. It is certainly on his list that he would really like to win all 3 Grand Tours in his career, so it will happen somewhere, but I cannot guarantee you if it happens next year, he said. Although Nierman quipped that nobody at Visma, not even Vingegaard himself, was certain of a place in the Tour squad, it's obvious that the Dane will line up for the Grand Depart in Barcelona on July 4th as team leader. Although Visma have Grand Tour winners Simon Yates and Sepp Kuss on their roster, neither man is a viable option to challenge defending champion Tadej Pogacar. Vingegaard and Visma will thus have to decide whether lining up at the Giro in May is truly compatible with a serious tilt at the Tour in July, which has been a fixed point on his schedule since 2021. Pogacar, ironically, is at the heart of compelling arguments for and against riding the Giro. In 2024, the Slovenian became the first man since the late Marco Pantani in 1998 to win the Giro Tour double, proving that it can still be done even in the hyper-calibrated era of cycling. But if that example encourages Vingegaard, then Pogacar himself serves as the obvious deterrent. At the 2024 and 2025 tours, Pogacar delivered crushing beatings to Vingegaard. Could he really expect to fare any better with the exertions of the Giro already in his legs? Then again, Vingegaard and Visma might feel that this iteration of Pogacar is more or less unbeatable at the Tour, save for accidents or injury. Victory at the Giro would see Vingegaard complete a full set of Grand Tours, and it would give him something very tangible to take from this season, regardless of what happens in July. They might also reckon that, even allowing for the residual fatigue of the Giro, Vingegaard would still have the energy to fend off Remco Evenepoel, Florian Lipowitz et al. For the second step of the Tour podium behind a theoretically unbeatable Pogacar. On the other hand, Vingegaard also suggested in Saitama that he had only recently returned to the level he had reached prior to his career-threatening crash at Italia Basque Country in April 2024. If Visma genuinely believe Vingegaard raced in a diminished state against Pogacar these past 2 Julys, then they might push him to go all in against his old rival at the 2026 Tour rather than getting sidetracked by the Giro. And Tim Wellens' recent claim that Pogacar had been nursing a knee injury at this year's Tour was a reminder to Vingegaard that even in his imperial phase, his old rival is still vulnerable to the vicissitudes of fortune and form that can affect any Grand Tour contender. Vingegaard needs to be ready to pounce on any potential Pogacar slip-up at the Tour. That thought might persuade Visma to stick to the old script and have Vingegaard zero in squarely on the Tour rather than have his focus blurred by a Giro debut. The route. The other complicating factor is that the Giro route has not yet been announced. Rumors about the course have been percolating, and one imagines RCS Sport will soon furnish Visma and other teams with the broad brushstrokes of their design, but they will need the full details before they can make a firm decision. The Giro route was initially due to be presented in mid-November, but as things stand, it won't be confirmed until December 1st at the earliest. The longer things drag on, the less likely a Vingegaard Giro debut becomes. It will be fascinating to see if RCS Sport design a route expressly to tempt riders, and Vingegaard in particular, into a tilt at the Giro Tour double. In 2024, for instance, they facilitated Pogacar's quest by reducing the total climbing by more than 15% on the previous year. They might also, however, look to tempt Remco Evenepoel into riding by offering rather more individual time trialing than the Tour's paltry 26 kilometers. Pogacar, by contrast, seems unlikely to ride the Giro regardless of the route, given his avowed desire to return to Paris-Roubaix and the certainty that he will return to seek a record-equaling 5th Tour victory, whether he wants to or not. Vingegaard has no classics ambitions, of course, which theoretically facilitates his path to riding the Giro and the Tour. But the Tour has been Vingegaard's center of gravity since his debut in 2021, and he has placed in the top 2 in all 5 appearances, winning the race in 2022 and 2023. It might be Vingegaard's dream to add the Giro to his palmarès, but the reality is that the Tour remains his primary duty. At Visma, all roads still lead to Paris, and it's not yet clear if they will allow Vingegaard to take a detour to Rome. What do you think are the odds to see Vingegaard or Remco Evenepoel at the 2026 Giro? Let us know in the comments. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, give it a like and make sure you're subscribed for more deep dives into the tactics, stories, and moments that define pro cycling. You can also find extended highlights, insights, podcasts, and live reports on domestiquecycling.com. Links in the description. See you in the next one.